Hi, my name is Slone. I'm Dr. Slone of the Slone Chiropractic Clinic. This is Dr. Shearing. She runs the Suffolk office. This is Dr. Jason Kennedy. He runs our Richmond office. And we're going to continue with our little casual conversation program. And we kind of think this is one of the best ways to inform you about our clinic and how it works and the costs. So we just did a video previously about people who use their health insurance or are self-pay patients. Today we're going to talk about how in the world you come here if you've been involved in a vehicular collision or an automobile accident and how that works. So, getting involved in a collision can be a terrifying experience. People live their life, they wake up in the morning, they go to work, they come home, and that's pretty much their rut. Then all of a sudden you throw this monkey wrench where you've taken away their transportation, there's disability, there's insurance, there's lawyers' offices, there's work excuses, and your whole life gets turned upside down, and it's such a stressful situation. Well, let me just say that when you come here, our job is to help you take that stress away, okay? That's number one. Number two, we're gonna try to fix you and make you feel better right away, let you know that you're gonna be okay. We're gonna give you a thorough examination, hopefully better than anybody's ever given you in the past, and try to do our best to put you at ease. But one of the biggest issues is affordability. So I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say you're at a stoplight on Virginia Beach Boulevard, and you're looking straight ahead, and the next thing you know, kablam, you get hit in the rear by a Silverado. Your eyeglasses go in the back seat, your hat goes in the back seat, the cigarette lighter pops out, your car gets moved forward, you have immediate neck pain, and the ambulance comes, they take you away by ambulance, you go to the emergency room, they do a CAT scan, they do x-rays, they give you some medicine, they release you, and now you have a $4,000 bill from the emergency room, and you go home and you wake up the next morning and oh my goodness, your neck is killing you. So what are you gonna do? So the first thing is we wanna let you know that there's a zillion different options. So option number one, let's say that you have MedPay benefits. So Dr. Kennedy, you want to tell us about MedPay benefits?
So what MedPay is a portion on your own automobile policy that covers just what it says, medical payments. So when you go to the hospital, or you go to the doctor, the chiropractor, the physical therapist, that portion of MedPay is what you file, and they will pay for those services. It's usually up to an amount, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, whatever you've purchased when you bought your own automobile policy. This is not on the guy who hit you. This is on your own car insurance. So in our office, if you come in and we do find out that you have MedPay, we will file the MedPay claim for you. So we get all the information, we get the claim number. You do have to call your insurance and open up a claim number. But once you've done that, we will file everything, and the MedPay company will pay us directly, and it pays most of the bills. There may be some portion of things they don't cover, but for the most part, you're taken care of, and it covers your medical bills up into the maximum dollar amount that you chose when you first purchased the policy.
So a couple of things. Number one is that that's a insurance that you paid for.
Yes, it's
that
your benefit.
You have to add on to your auto insurance. So
Correct.
I would say to you that for the money spent, it is the least expensive insurance that you could buy.
It is well worth it,
So
yes.
for a very small amount of money, $12 a month, you could get $20,000 in MedPay coverage. And don't quote me on that. You're going to have to ask but it's very, very inexpensive.
It protects you.
And it is wrong if you don't have any. So you should call up your insurance person and find out if you have it or if you don't have it. And if you don't have it, you should get it.
Right.
And if you have it, you
Use
can
it.
go to any doctor, anywhere, as long as it's related to an automobile injury or a situation. You have health care coverage, and it won't cost you a thing.
Right.
So it's a no-brainer.
It's well worth the investment.
So
Right.
you could call us up, or you could call your own insurance adjuster, and you can find out whether or not you have MedPay. And if you have MedPay, you can go anywhere you want to go.
Right.
So MedPay number one is the best thing. Well, let's say that you don't have MedPay. Let's say that you don't have health insurance. And now what are you going to do? Anybody want to answer that question?
Well, there's always a way. That's the thing.
Exactly. All right.
Well, in most cases, if you call your doctors or the majority of providers, they're going to want you to pay up front or pay as you go. But if you don't have health insurance and the accident was not your fault and the person's insurance that hit you accepted liability, then you can file a claim with that person's insurance company.
We call that a third-party
It's
situation.
called a third-party situation. So if you call up a lot of doctors, they'll tell you we don't bill third party. It means they don't want to get involved in that. But our offices, we will take a look at everything. If you bring us the claim number, if you bring us the information from the adjuster, we will take a look at that. We will make some phone calls and gather some information, and you might have coverage that will pay us directly in most cases.
Right. So basically what we're saying is that if somebody was negligent and injured you,
Right.
okay, and they have automobile insurance, then there's a very strong likelihood that if they caused it and they made the mistake and they hurt you, that you're going to have benefits. All
Right.
you need to do is present them with a bill.
It's not as easy as MedPay, but it can be done.
Now there is one caveat, and that caveat means that as long as it's reasonable.
Right.
So if the doctor you go to racks up a $100,000 bill
Right.
and there was no damage to the rear end of
That's
your
not
car,
reasonable.
that's not a good situation.
Right.
As long as the treatment is reasonable and the documentation can document the necessity of care and it's reasonable, it's going to get paid.
And another thing, that you are following the treatment plan that the doctor provides, because it has to be reasonable, but you also have to make every attempt to want to get better as soon as you possibly can.
Right.
I think one of the benefits too is that we do take third-party patients where many of the doctors
Right.
in our area don't. So it's a great option that people know that we'll be happy to work with you
Right.
and be able to help you get better and work with that insurance option.
Just an add-on to that, there's a lot of healthcare providers that don't really want to get anywhere
Right.
close to a negligence kind of situation.
Right.
That's very
And
common.
the reason is because it demands so much documentation that they don't really have they're not really equipped to do that. They're equipped to do a brief examination, provide you with some medication, and that's about it. Basically, we do our best to
Right.
make sure that we document the necessity of care every way that we can to make sure, and we've testified so much that we're prepared to do that for you.
Right.
And most of those other doctors aren't prepared to do that, don't know how to do it, don't want to do it, and don't even want to see anybody that's related to an accident. That's what we do,
That's
and
very
we do
true.
a really good job at it.
Right, because what Dr. Slone is referring to is that the insurance company from an accident oftentimes requires and requests more documentation and more information that most doctors are willing to do. So we have to submit that, we have to follow up with that. So there is a lot of work on the back end.
Much more detailed.
Much more detailed when seeing and accepting a third-party liability case. That's why most doctors and other providers just don't want to deal with it.
All right, so now let's do another one. Let's say you're on Military Highway, you're looking straight ahead, it's a beautiful day.
We do have a Richmond office, so you could be on Broad Street. Let's throw that out there.
Boulevard.
All right,
Yeah, Boulevard.
or on Pruden Boulevard.
Pruden
That's
Boulevard in
Boulevard.
Suffolk, yes.
That's right.
And
Which is 460 in Richmond.
so you're minding your own business, you get hit in the rear by a Silverado. Only this time, the guy backs up and pulls away and leaves the scene. Now your car is not drivable. Maybe you hit your head. You had loss of consciousness. The guy leaves the scene. Now what are you going to do? Anybody want to answer that one?
Well, there's a couple things you could do. If you still wanted to handle it yourself, then you would use your own uninsured or underinsured insurance to cover that. So once again, that's similar to a third-party liability claim where the doctor has to do a little bit more work and the insurance company requires more documentation. But that can be done. You'll have to call your own insurance. Now that's not med pay. This is the uninsured or underinsured portion of your insurance policy.
Now, another thing you could do is you could call a lawyer.
Could use an attorney.
You know, why would you want to use a lawyer in a rear end situation or an automobile accident situation?
Well, their expertise to be able to investigate, follow through. Many times you're hurting, you don't have the time or the
Right.
ability or, to know to deal and what questions to ask or where to go. Many times you're overwhelmed, especially if you can't work or you're in a situation where you just don't know where to turn to. So
Right.
it really is.
Well,
It's
they're experts
That's right.
in this arena.
Right.
Okay? And unfortunately, it's an adversarial situation. The other side says, well, you're not hurt that bad, and you're
Right.
saying, well, yes, I am.
You don't
And
need an
the
attorney.
next thing you know, you have two different opinions about the same
Right.
situation.
Right.
And like you say, Dr. Sharon, it's an overwhelming situation.
It
I
is.
will say that in a
Mhm.
court of law, everything you say can and will be used against you.
Right.
And whatever you put on the paper, that original statement that you make to the insurance company, all that is so important because they're trying their hardest not to pay a claim, and all you want is fairness. So sometimes you really do need protection,
Right.
and you don't really know the ins and outs of the whole situation.
For instance, a lot of patients will tell me they didn't go to the emergency room in the ambulance right away after the accident because they didn't want to run up the cost
Right.
of the whole deal. I thought, well, I can't really afford it. I'll go later. So they go 2 or 3 days later. And then at the end of the case, when they're doing better and they're dismissed, they come to find out they use that against them, that they really weren't hurt that bad because they didn't go to the emergency room right away in the ambulance.
Right.
When the patient was simply trying to mitigate or cut costs and not using an ambulance.
Or hope that the situation would go away.
Right.
It's really
Figured-
sad because
right.
they think they're doing the right thing by trying to keep the costs down, but in the long run,
They use it against them. Well,
it comes back.
patients will
right?
tell me the insurance company is saying since I didn't go to the hospital right away or didn't go at all in some cases, that I couldn't possibly hurt.
You
They
must not
simply
have been
weren't,
hurt, right.
didn't want to run up a big bill.
Right.
Right.
I think another thing too is many times if there's soft tissue injuries, which I know we haven't gotten into yet, they think, well, I'm just sore, I'll be
Right.
okay.
And they wait a
But
long time.
soft tissue injuries are very damaging and worse than having a fracture in many, many cases,
Right.
in most of the cases. So they think, oh, I'll be okay, I won't go. But that is
Right.
really when you need care the most.
Or sometimes they do go 2 or 3 weeks later.
Mhm.
Once again, didn't want to go to the doctors and run up a big bill, and the insurance company uses that against them. Well, you waited so
Right.
long, you couldn't be hurt,
Right.
and so now we're not paying the claim.
And like all of us have seen many times the adrenaline immediately following an
Right.
incident, you don't realize how hurt you are. Or you're more concerned about your children in the back
Right.
seat or
Right.
getting to work and you don't think about it. And then 24, 48 hours
A couple days later.
you
Right.
really feel the effects.
Then the last one, or there's two of them actually, is you could use your health insurance.
You can.
And there's something called subrogation, or so how does that work, Dr. Kennedy?
So subrogation, on the state level in Virginia, we don't have that, but if you use a federal insurance plan, Medicare, Medicaid, or Federal Blue Cross Blue Shield, or a self-funded plan through your work, then you will have to pay that back.
If it settles.
If it settles,
If there's a
if
settlement.
there's a settlement and there's a recovery, then yes, you'll have to pay what they paid. They will ask for their money back, and that's what subrogation is. So, but in Virginia, it's only on federal policies or self-funded policies, Medicare, Medicaid, things like that. If you have a recovery, then you have to pay that back.
Okay, so I think that pretty much covers all
Right.
the different ways that.
Once again, give our office a call. We'll be happy to talk to you about any questions you might have regarding
That's right.
our little webinars.
I look
Okay.
forward to helping you.
Thanks for hanging with us.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.